Okay, you can have as much time as you want.
All right, and we're started. We are joined by doctors all around. We have Dr. Well, can I ask you, this is Dr. Chris Chapman, who is the founder and the CEO of
And I think he's also
Telomere.
board chair.
Board chair.
And board chair.
Chairman of the board, CEO, president, chief medical officer at Telomere Pharmaceuticals.
He graduated Georgetown, Harvard. He served in Vietnam, and he's got a great company here.
Yeah.
And then we have Dr.
Mike ROIZEN.
Mike ROIZEN, who is a best-selling author, and you kind of have to look here.
In the camera.
Yeah, that green thing. He just looked at the camera. So anyway, I just
I'd rather look at you.
you can look at me, but that gets tiring quickly. Anyway, we just had a great presentation on TELO, and they are going to start rat studies, I guess April 24th. The study completes in May, and the data will be available in June. And then they're taking that information and moving to a dog study, which I can't read my handwriting, but it will basically be finished by the end of the year. And it got over my head very quickly. Do you have that shoe? You probably don't
Well,
have
I
it.
can I can take this shoe
All right,
off.
here, you can show it here.
So
this is yeah, maybe you can explain what
So
we're
a
doing.
telomere is like the
Show
aglet.
it so they can see.
Telomere is like the aglet on a shoe lace. It protects the lace from fraying. In this case, a telomere is on the end of your chromosomes and prevents the DNA from getting mistakes or deteriorating. So you need that telomere there, and it's essential for duplicating, but it gets shorter with certain things in human life, such as a bad diet or inflammation or, if you will, stress in general. Whereas what you want is it longer because you need it to be able to reproduce your stem cells. Stem cells are the matriarchs of the body. We all come from one stem cell, but stem cells are also matriarchal in another capacity. They help come in and repair things. And when we lose our repair system, we get disabilities and get old. So the promise of telomere 1 and the hope is that we can find out that it does increase telomere length. We've shown that in human cell lines, that's what we've presented today, and that it increases telomerase in human cell lines. Very unique, and that's the big deal. And if it does that in the rats and the dogs, and then in humans, you've got the holy grail of repairing humans.
I'm trying to find the chart in the doctor's book, and I think this is it. But basically, you mentioned that if you're age 30 to 40, that's when your stem cells stop having the ability to replicate or something to this effect?
They lose their ability as they get shorter. And in most humans, they get too short to keep replicating huge numbers as we use them up. And we use them up, and from 0 to 30, we find they replicate fine. But after 30, we've lost so much length that you lose the ability to produce all the stem cells you need.
And your therapy,
That is, the telomeres lose length, not the stem cells themselves. Make sure.
but the telomere is what allows the stem cell to recreate
Absolutely
and reproduce.
correct.
So by replacing that telomere or extending it, your body
Can make more stem cells, you can repair yourself, and you will have, and the hope is, and the theoretic, and at least what we see in the mice, is you're able to live with less disability, less arthritis, less other things that disable you, and you're able to live longer. So it's not only less disability, it's extending that period of 30 to 60 to 30 to 90, but it's with it, doing it in a healthy way.
And you believe elderly or older people can benefit from this. You don't have to start the therapy in your 20s and 30s, but you don't know for sure.
We don't know the answers to that,
Right.
but
But we expect that if you 90 and decide to take the product, then our hope is that our hypothesis is that you may be 45 or 35,
It's unbelievable.
and you will continue to take the product after that.
One thing you were describing.
so that's why us old guys are pushing him to get these studies done faster.
Yesterday.
Both of these guys, by the way, you guess their age. They'll tell at the end. Their real age is younger than their.
We were both in the service during the Vietnam era.
So you're both in your 70s.
That's right.
But to me, you both look much younger.
Well, thank you.
I look older.
Yeah, we like looking at you.
I didn't serve. But, okay, I lost the question I was going. Oh, you were saying in your presentation that rats, these white rats you have in the laboratory, you started noticing their fur got better and their tails got better and all that. You're hoping after the dog test, when you apply this maybe to human testing next year, that it might show up in skin first, anti-wrinkle and all that. Or did I misunderstand?
No, you got it right.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge product. I mean, a huge.
Well, it was a mouse study that we did in Sarasota, where we started dosing the mouse 10 milligrams of telomere in drinking water every day. And the first thing we noticed in the 10 days that they were on the telomere, it was their fur and their skin changed first. The tails got stronger, but their fur was the first thing. You could actually see from day 1 to day 10 the difference in the fur. So we think the skin would be the most important thing to look at in adults when we get to adults and talk about the changes that take place in aging.
Wow.
It's going to be very prominent. It'll be a very prominent change you'll see. And that's why with these rat studies we're doing, we're videoing them every day. So every day, you can see the changes take place every day.
And they're going to be blinded, so you don't know what dose, whether the rat or the dog got the actual ingredient or the placebo, so that people can look at it and say, independently of knowing what they got, is this a real change? And so that's the scientific validity. But, you know, the intermediate product, not only for dog arthritis, but there's one you might be able to put on your skin as a cream.
Yes.
Wow.
For sunburns.
Wow.
Or
Did you know that I forget which one of the gentlemen was talking about it, but do you know that when you're young, you get a sunburn, you used up some of your stem cells?
Yes.
A scary thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, as a pale white guy,
I got sunburn. I got, it's my Irish.
Yeah.
What is the product? I saw pictures there,
Yeah.
but what is it? Is it easy to describe? And is it replicable in the sense, can anybody do it?
Well,
You don't have competition.
we have no competition.
because of a patent, worldwide
Intellectual
patenting of
property.
a new molecule. It's a small molecule, so it should be able to be made cheaply.
Yeah.
That's all his job.
Right, but it's the first time we've seen this chemical in the world, where you have a 6-member ring. Now normally a 6-member ring, you have 6-member rings following that 6-member ring. We know from some other work we did that you can take the 6-member ring and take out one chain, one carbon, and make it a 5-member ring. But 3 5-member rings around a 6-member ring, you have less side effects. We know that for a fact now. And so that's what we did with telomere 1. We designed the entire chemical like that, compound like that.
So it's a new alkaloid. Alkaloids normally decrease inflammation in plants, and so that's where it was derived from. But instead of 6-member rings, which plants have, and which humans get more side effects to, he created 5-member rings.
Plants get arthritis?
Well, plants get inflammation, and
Right.
that kills the plant.
I didn't
And
know.
that-
You've
that
seen
protects
that
it. Yeah.
you see that in
Yeah.
trees with the.
Oh yeah, you do, when now you think about it. So your initial testing was to go anti-inflammation,
Exactly.
and then you discovered this, and I'm sorry, from both presentations, one of yours showed a 40% lengthening in, or
That
was
was
it
it.
time, or was it the,
No, it was a 40% lengthening of the telomere.
of the telomere?
And it turns out
Whatever a telomere is.
the telomere is that aglet on the shoelace.
That's the
remember?
thing.
That protects the chromosome.
Okay.
And a increase in telomerase activity that lengthens the telomere so that you can make more stem cells.
Wow. So it's sort of serendipity, it's
Right.
fortuitous. That
Well, when we started this 4 years ago, we were injecting the mouse for anti-inflammatory effects, and the mouse wouldn't die. That's when we knew we had something.
Yeah.
I mean, we were not trying to keep the mouse alive, but the mouse wouldn't die for like 3.5 years, past the age that it should have passed away.
It's unbelievable. Also, I think it was yours, doctor, showed iron in the middle, and I think it was to take metals out.
Yeah. So,
I got lost.
so we
maybe you
didn't
can
we
explain.
didn't really get into the heavy metals,
Yeah.
but heavy metals in general in the body, excess metals cause issues with telomeres. They would make them shorter. If they're shorter, then you die sooner. You age. And so what we do is, what telomere does is it captures not only iron, but copper, other metals. It captures it, and there's a homeostasis where you have a balance of metals. When you do that, you take the pressure off the telomeres, and they can extend and live longer. So that was a metal concept that we didn't really get into. But when we met Dr. ROIZEN, that's how we got started talking about the metals and their effect on the telomeres.
And this is Dr. Roizen's book, which I'll go over when we go live. But I went through it quickly. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Could we eliminate obesity? What if 90 were the new 40? Wow.
Well,
Is that really possible?
We said in, actually it was on Oprah first, thanks to Candy Emwan, the producer, we said that 60 would be the new 40, and that's actually come to pass. If you look at the data in the health professional study and the the nurses' health study, those that do healthy things, 60 is the new 40.
When I turned 60, I felt 59.
Well, the point is you have enormous control, as you'll read, and so we now think 90 can be the new 40.
Well, is it too
With
late?
an 80.
For older guys like me?
It's only too late when you're 6 feet under.
So you got time.
That's good news. Do you guys know any questions I should be asking here? Here's our crew. There's Sophia and Candy, spelled with a K, and one of our audience members. Oh, and Dr. Bragan. They're left over from the presentation. Well, all right, so it's 13 minutes. I'll try to...
Well, you want to know, ask him how old he is.
I'm going to guess he's 90.
Chris?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You look like, to me, you look like you're in your 60s, but maybe you're
70.
70. Wow. That's great.
Feel 40.
And you feel 40?
Feel like I'm 40.
You could fly again.
That's right. That's right.
That's amazing. But you haven't even tried this stuff yet.
No, I can't.
All right, so I have a question for you, which comes
Well, you're not
from...
going to ask me how old I am?
Well, it was risky there. I don't want to take the risk again. 71.
I'm 78.
Wow.
So I'm actually annoyed that you thought I was older than he is.
Well, that's...
But I could never fly a bomber. But I wasn't.
Were you ever bald?
I was in the yellow beret.
The yellow beret. All right, so I have a question which is going to show that I'm not a doctor. But our DNA in our body apparently allows us to live to 120 years. Is that true, or is there nothing magical about 120 years?
I don't think we know the answer. Our DNA.
I don't know where I got that number.
Yeah, no. Where you got that number is the oldest humans have lived to about between 120 and 125, And we think that it may not be the DNA that is allowing that, but is changes to our switches to our DNA, or changes to the fact we run out of stem cells to repair things. It may be parts of our genes, but not our genes themselves. So in other words, when you look at aging mechanisms, there are 14 that are being investigated. One of them is that as we get older cells, they die, they put out a hormone that makes, or a protein that makes the cells around them older. And that when you get enough of those, you get too old to live.
It's toxic.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we don't know that it is our DNA per se, rather than changes that occur around those DNA structures that limit life expectancy.
I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot. I'm not sure it's clear here, but your therapy, you think, is going to allow our bodies to regenerate stem cells,
repair.
as opposed to, you used a big number in your presentation, as opposed to injecting stem cells.
Well,
And I forget those numbers,
you
but
need
it was...
you need 20 to 50 million to repair an organ. When you get stem cell therapy, you go to a orthopedic clinic that advertises they're going to inject stem cells in your knee. Those are between 500 and 8,000. No place near enough. But what you get also is growth factors, what we call exosomes or growth factors, and those call forth your own stem cells. So you're trying to get your own stem cells really to repair that. You're not getting the stem cell therapy. There's no place near enough stem cells in that. But so what you want to do is to call forth your own stem cells. One of the advantages is if telomere 1 really does lengthen telomeres and telomerase in a human who's living, as opposed to just in the cell lines in the test tubes. If it does the same thing, you're going to be able to repair yourself for a lot longer.
And you think you'll know that in 2025? You'll have the data?
We should have a lot more data on that from the dog study, which we expect to report out in January of 2025.
Thank you, Doctor. Doctor, I've
Yes.
got a question, and then maybe that'll be the last one. You don't know which products or which markets you're going after yet, but it sounds like this is a huge financial market.
You mean as far as the indication?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether, I don't know, picking diseases. You mentioned Parkinson's, arthritis.
Osteoarthritis is very common, untreated in canines and humans. But just to put the cover on this, we don't want to go into the FDA saying that we can reverse age. Okay, we'll get knocked out the door. So we're going in with an indication like osteoarthritis. But underneath that, we're going to talk about, with the dog study, you'll see whether we can reverse age in the dog or not. So we're going to the FDA with phase 1, phase 2 saying osteoarthritis, but we expect that you'll hear us talking about reversing age at that point with the Food and Drug Administration.
Is there a business model for
Yes.
the veterinarians as well?
There was a study completed this past year where they went through FDA for 4 years on extending the life of the canine for 1 year. So that's the path we'll follow, but they extended it for 1 year. We want to reverse it back to where it should have been 25, 30 years ago.
Well, to me, this is very exciting. It's almost 20 minutes. Because there's people waiting, we can end this now, but I want to interview guys again.
Sure.
And to me, it's not revolutionary, it's life-changing.
It's life-changing, yeah.
It's not just length of life, it's your quality of your life, right?
Longevity is the next disruptor, and it's much bigger than any disruptor we've had so far, because it gives you life.
It gives you life.
Well, when we were sitting at Georgetown,
It's the biggest disruptor because it gives you time.
It gives you time.
Time is the most precious commodity, especially as you get older. And all of a sudden, if my body gets better and I can start being as active as I was when I was 50, forget 40 or
huge.
30.
It's
I mean,
huge.
and that buying me time, all of a sudden, everything I'm doing now changes, because if I know that I'm gonna be 120, 150, I start organizing my life. I mean, it is so
Amazing.
disruptive
Yeah.
that people, when 20-year-old kids start watching their dads and granddads get younger, and they realize, oh my God, I'm gonna be 150, and I gotta start thinking about it. It also buys you time when you think about savings. Compound interest works a hell of a lot better at 100 years than it does at 20. You know?
Better make sure you married the right person.
Right.
It is.
It's-
It's gonna disrupt that too.
There's an expression that father time has never been defeated.
Yeah.
This might be it.
I mean, we're
This
working on
might
it.
be it. Anyway, thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctors. And we'll do more of this, but I want to end it at 21 minutes so people will watch it.
Okay.
Anyway, cheers, everyone.